Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast for another team season preview, the penultimate team of all 32 team season previews. And this team today is the Green Bay Packers. I am, as ever, your host, Annie Davis. With me today, I've got a returning guest. She came on for last year's Packers season preview. Back with us today is Ash and the NFL. Ash, how are you?
I am very well. Thank you so much, Andy. As always, thank you so much for having me on. I feel tired already and the season hasn't even started yet. That is just proof in the pudding of how much work we guys all put in this side of the pond. But Andy, how are you? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good. Very glad that we're coming towards the end of our season previews because it is always a tiring task. We've done it 3 years in a row now. It's always, towards the end, you start to flag, the tiredness really kicks in. But, we've only got one team left. It is probably a team you don't like, and the Vikings, that is our last team. But, yeah, we have rattled through 30 team season previews so far. We're at 31. And, yeah, one left to go. And, of course, very excited for the season to begin. Obviously, looking forward to the London games in particular. Hoping to once again get media access to those and hoping I can expand it to Germany this year maybe as well. And maybe even at a stretch, maybe even New Orleans, but that is a pipeline dream, which we got to aim for. We got to aim for that. And it's
hey, you got to dream big, Andy. Dream big. Sorry, and keep on pushing, and the doors will open. And that's kind of what we're all here to do, isn't it? So yeah.
Absolutely, and it's we are going to get onto the schedule later on, but of course the Packers do play in Brazil this year. You, of course, you went to Germany last year. You've been to Arizona before for the Super Bowl, and obviously London. You going to Brazil for the Packers game?
No, unfortunately. So I'm not going to be in Brazil for this Packers-Eagles game. I would love to be, but I'm not. So work commitments are keeping me here in the UK, which is fine. I'll cry about it another day. I'd love to go, obviously, one for the history books. And it's obviously going to be such a phenomenal game. First game, obviously, in South America. And I've just been asking everybody that I know who's going to be there, obviously, to send me all the pictures, all the videos. And I think the big question that everybody is asking, I want to know kind of what both teams' colors they're going to be repping, because I think, like we all know, and I don't know if I should say too much, but obviously I think it's to do with like football and everything that's over there. Obviously you can't wear green maybe in Sao Paulo. That's all I really know. I haven't delved too much into it. But yeah, the game in Sao Paulo is going to be great. And obviously the first Friday night game to kick off the season, it's going to be fun. Like, we've got football so many days this year. As NFL fans, we're kind of spoiled for choice, aren't we?
Yeah, I think that, I think just for the fans from that area of the world, to have NFL game come into South America, a bit close to home, especially for the fans who can't always get to America. It's good that they're bringing out more games worldwide in Europe. You look about obviously Spain's getting involved next year. I think France want to get involved as well. I think Neil Reynolds alluded to it, the fact that we could see one day the NFL turn to like an F1 sort of situation where you've got each week a different game in a different city across the world. I think that's where we're potentially heading, probably more towards that than a franchise in London, if I'm honest. I think that's further away than maybe some would think, but you never know. That could happen, we hope. But moving on, though, we will go on to the Packers 2024 season, looking at the off-season in general, looking at the ins and outs of the off-season. Looking at the outs, you look at the likes of Jonathan Owens, who was featured a bit on Hard Knocks with the Bears, Darnell Savage, as well as John Runyon, Patrick Taylor. Other than that, no real main outs, obviously, apart from obviously a couple of players I forgot to mention in legend of the team, David Bakhtiari, legendary tackle, as well as Devondre Campbell, and also one of your favourite players, Aaron Jones, who has amazingly gone to one of your rivals in the Vikings. That must have hurt a little bit.
Yeah, I think I've been saying this for ages because people always ask me. I think for a good 5 minutes, obviously, we had Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones as our running backs. It was a great 5 minutes to be alive for. It was fun. And then, that burnt out very quickly. Listen, it is what it is. I think as far as the cookie crumbles as NFL fans, and obviously, Andy, you as a Dolphins fan, you know how this works. It's business. at the end of the day. You know, a lot of our players that we love and that we will kind of rep until kingdom come, we're lucky if they are a part of our team the whole way through and they retire straight out as like our team reps and stuff. But that always doesn't happen. So, you know, we've kind of just got to rip that band-aid off. I'm over it now. I'm still a bit salty, still a bit bitter. And I think when the Vikings first come to Lambeau for their home game against us, it is going to be very interesting seeing Aaron Jones run out of the away tunnel and not the home tunnel. He is going to get such a huge reception because this guy is such a nice person. He is just so true to his heart. He is a beautiful soul. The guys in Green Bay, absolutely everybody loves him. There's no hate towards him. Obviously, we don't want him to do well. We do not want him to get like 3 rushing touchdowns and like a passing touchdown and everything. But yeah, the reception in Green Bay when he comes back with the Vikings, it's going to be wholesome, but it will be weird at the same time. I kind of just always thought that he might be the one to kind of stay put and stay with us. But yeah, it wasn't meant to be. And hey, it's business at the end of the day. That's the NFL. So we do have to move on and just embrace our new players. Yeah.
Exactly. And speaking of which, the main ins you had in the offseason include, of course, Josh Jacobs, who was in as a replacement for Aaron Jones, as well as the likes of David McKinney, Greg Joseph's come through the door. Other players, no real other main sort of incomings in free agency, but 2 re-signings that are really big with Kenny Clark, your defensive tackle, as well as quarterback Jordan Love. And that's really where I want to go with first, is Jordan Love, because he has become the most paid player in NFL history with a deal that it seems to be every week a different record's been broken with that stat. And it was Jared Goff before that, so Herbert as well before that. And right now he is the most expensive quarterback in NFL history. But some people like myself, others will say that, you know, he's only really had, let's say, 8-9 games playing well in the NFL. Do you think that was... he's got enough of a sample size to then go, right, we're going to pay him this money? Or do you think it's the fact that the way the quarterback market goes, in a year's time, if he plays well like we expect him to, in a year's time, it's going to be even more with how it's expected to go with Dak Prescott and everyone else that could be paid in a year's time?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the quarterback price market plays a huge part in this, regardless. Like we've seen it before. Give me any quarterback in any team. At one point in their lives, they're going to be the highest paid player ever in the league. And that is just the quarterback market. You know, I wish that we could maybe see these price tags put against like wide receivers and some defensive players who should earn it and do deserve it. But hey, at the end of the day, these quarterbacks are bringing in the revenue for their team. So I think we've got to look at it from that side, first of all. I mean, secondly, I know that Jordan Love technically, like, he's not a rookie. He's only had like 1 full season as a starter. And a lot of people have got their concerns about that. Like, why should he deserve it? Why should he deserve that massive price tag and everything? The guy had a phenomenal season last year. He really did. He came out and he proved his worth. I mean, he was sat behind arguably, you know, what some people might say one of the best quarterbacks in the league for a few years, Aaron Rodgers. Like, if you're in any job and if you're learning from somebody, what better person to kind of learn from than somebody like Aaron Rodgers? I think it's great. I mean, ultimately, I do believe, obviously, it's the quarterback price market earned him the money that he's bagged. It's purely not from anything else. It's just that quarterback price tag market. But he's got to put the money where his mouth is right now. If he doesn't go out and get us a ring, hey, like, and this is me chatting as like, you know, not a presenter or broadcaster or anything. This is me chatting as a Packers fan. You know, people are going to be upset. People are going to question why the money went to him and maybe it wasn't spread out a little bit more throughout the team and stuff. But I do have faith in him. You know, from things that we've seen last season, this guy can play ball. He's good. This guy can work the locker room. He's a leader. People respect him, both on the field and kind of coaching staff, etc. So I think it's a very interesting one. And I do think, though, that his contract, I think it will pave the way a little bit further for what we're going to see maybe next season for quarterback contracts coming in and everything. But yeah, I mean, obviously, he's just got got to put his money where his mouth is right now. But I do have faith in him, and I think he can bring home the bacon for the pack.
Yeah, and I think that, the reason why we did our quarterback rankings episode with Sam Moores, and I had Love very highly for that reason. I think what you want from a quarterback really in the day is, are they going to win you the big games in the big spots? And he proved that in that one playoff game he had that he won against the Cowboys. He was very good. And I think that, it is, a very encouraging sign. In a way, it's gone. Rodgers learned from Favre. He went on to be arguably the best quarterback in franchise history. You can argue him or Favre, one or the other. And then Love's come in. He's learned off Rodgers, and once again, he looked to have hit. And we all were stunned by the Mahomes deal. What was that, 4 or 5 years ago when he got the 10-year deal? And
yeah,
it was way too much money. But now he's not. I don't think he's even in the top 10 most paid quarterbacks per year. He's not even in the top 5 best paid quarterbacks in total, I think. And that just shows where the market's gone, and they sort of got there first. And, again, as I said before, next year we're going to see more quarterbacks paid, more money spent, and the more the position becomes valued. And that will be helped really a little bit or massively, I should say, by your receiving core, which is very good. I mean, no, you haven't got Devontae Adams.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you haven't got like a Jamar Chase, you haven't got a Tyreek Hill, but you've got 3 or 4 really good receivers. You've got Devanion Wicks, you've got Jaron Reed, you've got Romeo Dobbs, and I still think Watson can turn it around in year 3. And rather than having, you think about when you had Adams, who else did you have there apart from at the start? Maybe I think Jordy Nelson might have still been there, but his last few years at Green Bay, Devontae Adams, he had no one else really around him apart from an aging Randall Cobb for Rodgers to throw the ball to. Whereas now you've got, rather than one elite guy and maybe 3 or 4 average receivers, you've got, I think, 4 good to very good receivers. And I think I love particularly Jaron Reed and Dobbs. I thought they were really impressive last year, and Wicks as well had his moments. So is that also good? The fact that I think the defense is a bit hit and miss, but I think that to have the offense like you do, to have the weapons that he can throw to basically any of his 4 players, he knows they're going to do the business. And they showed that, pushed down the stretch last year. Is that almost encouraging, the fact that he can almost spread the ball out a bit more? It'll be harder for defenses to sort of cover you because they don't know who throwing the ball to. Whereas maybe in years gone by, it was, if we stop Adams, we've stopped the Packers and Rodgers.
There's no one else. Yeah, exactly. And I think you've hit the nail on the head, Andy. So, like before, when you had Aaron Rodgers throwing to Devontae, I think all you had, I mean, ultimately wide receiver 2, it might have been Lazard. That was it. Drop ball sometimes, wasn't kind of, 100% every week. Now, and I love listening to Matt LaFleur when he does his media days and everything, and he has always said, at the end of the day, any one of these wide receivers could be wide receiver 1. And the one thing that I love from like a Packers fan point of view, and like you just touched on there as well, for an opposition side, who do you cover? Who is your main guy that you might cover or double cover? Who do you take out? Ultimately, because anybody else can slot in and then pick up the slack almost. And I think for any team to have kind of the wide receivers that we do, that is very dangerous going into a game. For wide receivers anyway. And obviously, like we've seen it before, Christian Watson, I want the best for him. And I think he's got everything under his belt, but he just needs to stay healthy. But ultimately, it didn't matter that he was out so long with injuries and stuff for us, because other guys came up and they stepped up to the plate. And I'm very excited about our wide receiver core that we've got with the Packers. We're still such a young team. I think this is something as well that loads of people need to kind of remember in their head. We were the youngest team last year in the NFL. We're still such a young team, and our guys have so much more to give, so much more to learn. And I think it's going to be really exciting. I'm really excited to see what Bo Melton does this year. I want to see him play like a ton more snaps, because he had elements of just pure brilliance last year when he was on the field. But Jaden Reed as well, loved what I saw from him. And I think, as far as Jordan Love goes, I mean, he's got so many people in his pocket that he can use as weapons here. Not just with wide receivers, but tight ends as well. Again, as long as everyone stays healthy. And running back as well. Obviously, just as long as everyone stays healthy and AJ Dillon steps up to the plate, this could be a very interesting offense especially as the NFC is concerned, to try and deal with. Because like you said, there really isn't kind of one standout player almost. We don't have a Tyreek Hill per se. There's no kind of like Brandon Ayuk. There's no like one player that, okay, you want to mark, and then if you take them down, the whole team goes down. This really is a team that anybody can step up to the plate and then score maybe 3 touchdowns in a game. But then the next week, hey, they might only have like 2 catches and then somebody else scores 3 touchdowns. I don't really know any other team in the NFL that does it quite like how the Packers does it.
Yeah, and I think as well, all being on rookie deals as well, since the salary cap, I think since the Super Bowl window, I think you got to look at this is potentially a window for you, because these players, Jordan Lovett's going to go the way he's going and keep getting better and better. The receivers are going to stand out more, and therefore they're going to want more money. I think now they're in their rookie deals. So I think that's going to be an even more reason you can get more players around you. You can afford to play the likes of Jordan Love because you've got receivers, on such cheap deals because they're rookies. So yeah, I think overall it's a really exciting, time to be a Packer fan. I think no Packers fan probably thought that when Rodgers left, but the way it's gone since, it's proved to be a very smooth transition. But we will head to
fingers crossed, Andy. Yeah. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
I mean, I think if we're to reach Super Bowl Dolphins, I don't mind playing the Packers. I think there's a few teams I wouldn't mind sort of playing, and I think they're one of them because I do love Lambeau Field. I love the uniforms, and I think it's a franchise that they should be competing every year because they are part of the staple hold of NFL history. So I think it's they should always be, and they always are. Most years, actually, always there and thereabouts. So I think that's really how it should be.
Oh, and right, like you said, obviously the history of this team brought me in as a fan and stuff, and I absolutely love it. And I think you're a fan of any team, you want to see them get through their regular season and go to postseason. Obviously, you want to see them crush it and do it. I think last year when we started, I said to myself, I'm just going to enjoy this year. Whatever happens, happens. We've got obviously a quarterback who's not a rookie, but it is his first season as a starter. We've got such a young team. Whatever happens, happens. And I was pleasantly surprised, actually, as a fan, like how much I enjoyed it, because I think my expectations weren't so high. This year, little bit different. Now my expectations are a bit higher because I know how well we did last year without any expectations on our back. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen this year? But I think that's the joy of the NFL. Like we always say, anything can happen on any given Sunday. And I think it's going to be really fun, like regardless. And again, we say this every year, but something is in the air this year with the NFL. And I think it's going to be pretty juicy.
I think as long as the Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl, then I'm all for the...
you and me both, Andy. Hey, you and me both. People are always saying, "Hey, don't bet against the Chiefs. They're going to three-peat, etc." I'm just like, I don't think they're gonna, and I'll happily eat my hat if they get back and they do a three-peat. I'll eat my hat. I don't think it's gonna happen. Oh, but it is tough, obviously. Like, don't bet against the Chiefs, but I hope they don't.
Well, the best saving up for those hats if they do win the Super Bowl.
Obviously.
We are going to head to our final segment, which is going to be our win-loss dissection. For those of you who haven't heard this podcast before, each fan who comes on predicts their team's record by going through each game and answering with a win-loss tie answer. Now, Ash, of course, you came on last year. The Packers finished 9-8. Do you by chance remember what your record prediction was this time last year?
I probably went like 12-5. I like it's difficult not to be biased with this. Obviously, I want them to win every game. This is always such a difficult segment, Andy, that you choose, because I'm just like, okay, well, I want them to win every game, and I think they will. I think I definitely went above and beyond. Did I go like 15-1? Did I just go?
But yeah, you, Abby, and Adam went 16-0 2 years ago, but last year you went 13-3-1. So you were a bit far off.
Okay, very optimistic.
Well, we mentioned it before. Week 1 is in Brazil against the Eagles. Win, loss, or tie?
So, and people keep asking me about this game, Andy. I don't know how this game is going to go. Obviously, ultimately, in my head, I'm going to say win. But this is actually a really difficult opening game for us to have. This Eagles team have got a fair amount of issues, both on the field and in the locker room. I actually haven't been watching too much on their training camps or like preseason games, so I don't really know too much about how they're doing and everything. You know what? I'm really going to give non-biased opinions here. I think we're going to win. So I'm going to say win for this, but I think it's going to be a bit of an ugly win. I think it could be like a point or two in it. I don't think it's going to be an easy ride for the Packers. But I think we're going to win, and I think we're going to like throw a lot of people off with this win, because I think a lot of people will have us losing this game, but I think we'll win.
Well, I think as well, to play in the Philadelphia Eagles on the road, but not in Philly, is a bonus, because I think that atmosphere at the Lincoln Financial Field is almost like having an extra man on the field. It really is. It's a brutal atmosphere, and I think to have the fact to play them on the road, and not be in Philly and play them in a neutral venue, I think that's gives you a great advantage. You haven't got that sort of that annoying factor in the stadium. So yeah, I think that's going to help you as well. And also, I think there's obviously the stuff going on with Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, which could fester into the regular season. Now, week 2 is an interesting one for you, because you are going against the Colts, which is, of course, your friend of the podcast as well, George on Sports Teams. First of all, are you watching it with him? And secondly, win, loss, or tie?
So first of all, win. 100%. We're going to win. That's fine. I actually have it, like, I might try and watch it with Georgia, actually. I can't remember if we've spoken about this. It could be a bit ugly. Who knows? We're both competitive people. Someone's going to go home upset. I don't think this is going to be a tied game. I really don't. This is our home opener, though, at Lambeau. Yeah, we're going to win it. Sorry, George. We're winning. It's fine.
Well, if you do watch it with him, I want the content. I want the Instagram story. I want the TikTok video.
100%. It would just be videos of me like zooming in on his face, a little bit upset and everything. But like the Colts will put up points. Of course they will. This isn't going to be, again, this is like looking at our schedule that we had. Like, we don't have an easy season. Really, the Packers don't. But yeah, I mean, home opener against the Colts. Packers are going to win. Yeah.
I agree. I think the Colts are a bit of an underdog, but I think at home in Lambeau, it's a win there.
Yeah.
Week 3 is a reverse of the game we watched together, as you travel to the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, so what a brutal game to go and like travel to and watch and then come away with a loss. Yeah, all that way and in the cold. Listen, I hope that we win this game, and I kind of think we will. So I was looking at the schedule and everything, and I do think we're going to be 3-0. This Titans team, they've lost a fair few people. And this Titans team, like last year, I mean, they had elements of being good, but they weren't up to par with what they were like 2-3 years ago. I think we can take this team down this time around, and we need to. So I'm going for a win with this. Am I going to be very stressed watching it, though? Yes, I am. Yeah.
I bet. And stress has become much bigger for a Packers fan than playing the Vikings. You are at home in week 4.
Yeah. So, oh my God, already I'm going like 4-0. Andy, what's wrong with me? Okay. So obviously this is Aaron Jones's return. This is what I talk about. So he's going to be coming back through the away tunnel. This is going to be big. Asked me like a month ago what my thoughts were, and I might have said this could be a loss for us. Might have said this. This Vikings team have suffered majorly over the past like week and a half or whatever. So many injuries, people out, people done for the year already. JJ McCarthy. I'm not hating on players, and I hope he does well and everything and he comes back and stuff. But yeah, this Vikings team have got some serious losses. Can the team thrive this year, this Vikings team, with just, I don't know, Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones? You need a rounded, good, solid team as well. I think this is going to be scrappy too. But yeah, I think the Packers might start the season 4-0, and then I think we might feel a little bit too elated after beating the Vikings at home week 4.
Well, you've got a tough place to go if you want to carry on the streak in week 5. As you go to SoFi to take on the Los Angeles Rams.
I don't know how this game is going to go, Andy. I don't know. This is an interesting one.
Episode just before this one, and our game against the Rams, I found the exact same. I found it one of the hardest ones to predict out the whole 17 games, because it's just they're such a good team. But then they've lost Aaron Donald, and Verse could be good, but Verse is a rookie, and it's that. I think they'll be good, but it's such a hard prospect whether you beat them or not, because they've lost Donald, but they've still got McVay, who's an excellent coach who can make it work. So yeah, they're a tough one to call this year.
Exactly, and this one's on the road as well. So, like, I'm trying to think of like my overall season record that I had originally in my head. This might be a loss for me, and I think it's going to throw a lot of people off if we do lose. But obviously, just always think to ourselves, we bounce back the next week and everything. Like, what went wrong and stuff. This should have been a game maybe that we won. But yeah, this Rams team is a weird one because they should have been in a rebuild phase last year, and then suddenly kind of like they were in it, they were there and stuff. But yeah, on the road traveling, I don't know. Like, say if I've got the Packers going 4-0 to start with, there's got to be a hiccup somewhere. Is this going to be the one? Maybe. I mean, touch wood, fingers crossed it isn't. But I think maybe this might be our first loss.
Okay, well, that is one of the first games in London. That is the first game in London. Of course, Aaron Rodgers is playing that day. But the following week is a game which involves one of your other friends who does a lot of London game work. Been on our show, the Cardinals season previews a few weeks before. Obviously, Sam Morgan. You take on at home the Cardinals, win loss or tie.
So we win that, hands down. No need to ask any more questions, Andy. We win that. It's the Cardinals. We're good.
Of course, yeah. I imagine you two will be definitely watching that together, because it will be after that first Tottenham game, but second game in London this year.
And yeah, and you know what? Obviously, the London games, like, at first I was a little bit like, how much am I going to enjoy these London games? But now I'm kind of in it. I'm very excited. These London games are going to be good. And then obviously I've got to remember that my team is playing straight afterwards. Like, there's going to be so much hype, so much excitement. But I mean, come on. It's the Cardinals. And if the Cardinals were anything like we saw last year, the Cardinals obviously do start good. The Cardinals started out hot at each game they played. It had a little touchdown here and there, and then it just all kind of crumbled a little bit and fell apart. So, you know, for anybody who is rooting against the Cardinals, we are hoping for the same again this season.
Well, week 7 is a much tougher prospect. Stephon Diggs, CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryans, Houston Texans at home, win loss or tie.
Yeah, so that is another interesting one. I have a sneaky feeling we might lose this. Again, obviously it's difficult because, you know, anything can happen for the Texans in those first few weeks. Injuries can happen on both sides. Who knows? This Texans team, I was really excited to watch last season. They were just a fun team to watch. They threw caution against the wind. They were just out there having fun, a little bit like the Lions that we all saw and everything as well. But this Texans team is good. We should not underestimate how good this Texans team is and how good they can be. I think this game is going to be actually really tough on both sides. I have a sneaky feeling that the Texans outdo us a little bit and again win by a really small margin.
Okay, well, week 8, you're traveling to Florida and taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'll win. That's a win. Yeah.
Yeah.
After a loss to the Texans, then we travel to the Jags. Yeah, we win that for sure.
Well, before your week 10 bye, you take on at home in week 9 the Detroit Lions.
Oh, that's got to be a win, isn't it? I can't say a loss there. Again, kind of brutal, actually. Obviously, so I've got to remember, you know, with divisional matchups, obviously we play each other twice. Do we win both? Do we win just one? You know, what's kind of the vibe going to be like? I think this one, though, against the Lions, I think we do win. Again, tough matchup. It's always brutal. Love a divisional rival and everything. But I think this one, the Packers win.
So then week 11, after your bye week, you go to Chicago and take on the Bears.
Yeah, we own them. Jordan Love is the new owner, Andy. We own them. We're winning this one. We are good.
Love that. Week 12, you're at home to the San Francisco 49ers.
I mean, I'm going to say we're going to lose this. It's written in the stars, I think. This 49ers team is good. They haven't had a huge major roster change up, really. And Brandon Ayuk is still there. He's still there. And this is kind of like our Achilles heel, this 49ers team. I don't care who was our quarterback. For some reason, we just cannot take them down, even though we were so close in the playoff games last year. We were so close. But I am an ultimate believer that it's just how young our team was. We didn't have kind of that sustainability. We didn't have the stamina to take them on. I've like my head and my heart are saying different things. My heart is saying we'll actually win, and this will be massive comeuppance. Everybody will be like, "Oh my god, this Packers team, they're going to the Super Bowl after we win this game." But then my head is saying, dude, this 49ers team might just clip it at the end with like a field goal or some random thing like that. Okay, so let's be like non-biased. Let's go with the 49ers win that. And so that what gives us so far Packers 3 losses.
Yeah, 8-3 going into week 13. So yeah, that's still that'll be
okay. That's all right. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's nice. Okay, yeah.
Well, week 13, be careful of your answer here. You are taking on the Miami Dolphins on Thanksgiving, which should be a very exciting prospect. The whole world will be watching. It's prime time as well. We're not a tie for that one.
Thanksgiving game. I love this. Andy, what time is that game on Thanksgiving, actually?
That is, well, Eastern, it's 7:20 p.m. So it'll be a 1:20 a.m. kickoff.
Oh, so with the late night game. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, Andy, I know you're a Dolphins fan. We've done quite well, the Packers have, with our previous Thanksgiving games. I don't know if it's just in the Packers' blood, if the boys just want to go and get their turkey leg and just celebrate with family. They just want to get the game done. Listen, I'm going to say a win here. You can't have like back-to-back losses. Again, this could be a very interesting team. And kind of with our defense that we got at the moment, I think a lot more needs to happen with the rest of training camps, obviously with the last preseason game as well. You guys have got some really great people on your offense. You really do. For this Packers team to win, they need to step up to the plate this week. They need to. Like, this is a big old game. I'm going to say a win, but I'm going to say an ugly win. I think it's going to be an ugly game. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be pretty for either side.
No, and I did actually have in our Dolphins preview, it was my turn to predict this game. I did pick the Packers win just because we can't win in cold weather. And this is this time of the year where we tend to struggle. And until we do win, beat good teams in cold weather, I can't really say otherwise, sadly. But I think this could be the one where we change that mentality and change that perception. But right now, I can't really predict as to win that game at all. But week 14, start December, you take on the road, the Detroit Lions.
So, Matt LaFleur and the Packers are really good in December. I think we've only lost 1 game. On the road with Detroit. God, did we beat Detroit twice? Or... Okay, now you know what? I'm going to go with what I've written all this stuff down like ages ago. Okay, I say we lose this game to Detroit, which is fine. Really not a problem. I say we lose this one to Detroit because it's on the road. Don't ask me why. I just think we lose this one to Detroit, but then we beat the rest of our people in our division. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. I mean, that would mean give you a win over the Vikings in week 17 and over the Bears in week 18. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, but so that only means that I think we're going to lose 4 games.
Well, you still got 2 games against the Seahawks and Saints before that, but I don't think.
Okay.
Would you say you lose those games? I think that they're quite favourable, particularly the Saints. But Seahawks, you could argue.
I mean, last time against the Saints, we lost. And that was just a weird ass game, really, Andy. Nothing like the offense for the Packers just didn't turn up for that last year's Saints game. And then the defense just didn't turn up either. And I was like screaming at my TV for something to happen. I think we might have a loss against either the Saints or the Seahawks. Which one? I mean, maybe it could be the Saints again. I mean, that like every team has a weird loss of a game. Do you know what I mean? Where like they should go out and win it, but then they don't, and everybody's scratching their heads and asking why. Because I like in my head the idea of the Packers going 12-5.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think we need another loss in there. Is it for the Saints?
That would make it 12-5. If you beat one or the other and you lose the other one in those two games, and you beat the Vikings and Bears in week 17 and 18, that would make it 12-5. So that would coincide with your overall prediction.
My overall prediction, yeah, so 12-5. Okay, so let's go for a loss against the Saints again. I mean, I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. Yeah, let's go for a loss against the Saints again. Everybody's asking themselves why. And I'll think to myself, Jason, like I'm a prophet, who knows? So yeah, loss against the Saints, a win against the Seahawks.
Fantastic. So yeah, 12-5 record to end the year. If you go into the playoffs with that record, how far are you advancing in the postseason?
I mean, Andy, we go all the way to the Super Bowl, honey. We go all the way. We're going to see them in New Orleans. I think this year is going to be really interesting, especially on the NFC front. We saw glimpses of hope and valor from every team last year. I mean, you don't have to be a fan of them or not, but that 49ers Lions game for the NFC Championship was so exciting to watch. I found myself rooting for Dan Campbell. I was just like, oh, anybody but the 49ers, like just go, enjoy it. And I think just the fans as well, like, you know, as an NFL fan in general, I was just so excited to see people enjoying it and having fun. But I think that this happens like every year. Everyone's always like, oh, the AFC is so much better than the NFC, blah, 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 blah. This NFC side, like, don't underestimate them. Like, anything can happen. I mean, weirdly, and I said this last year, but for example, this Atlanta Falcons team, with the moves that they've been making, the signings that they've been making, on paper right now, like, for example, they should win the NFC South. They should. Are they going to, though? A whole different question. We know they love to choke. But I mean, yeah, anything can happen with his NFC side. Packers will make the postseason. Obviously, we will. How far we get will depend on who we play. Guaranteed, it's written in the stars, we're going to play the 49ers again at some point. But if we lose against them in the regular season, my head is saying like we'll win against them in the postseason. So it all kind of figures itself out. So yeah, so we end up going to the Super Bowl. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be green and gold raining down as we lift that Lombardi trophy again, Andy.
Well, it could happen. You never know. I do think you are an underdog for the season. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. And obviously, I'm sure if you make the Super Bowl, you'll be flying out to New Orleans to be there to watch them win it. But that is all to come in the next 9 months or so. That is where we will end this podcast for today. So once again, thank you to Ash for coming on today.
Oh, no, Andy, thank you as always. You know me, I love chatting all things football. I've been ready for this season for the past couple of months, wishing away the summer I have. I'm just like, screw the sun, screw the heat. Give me that autumn weather with our big jackets and everything back again. I'm really excited. Can't wait. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you at the London Games as well, Andy. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, likewise. Looking forward to seeing you there, and everyone else who I've met over the last year or so. Should be once again a very good year in the London Games, and hopefully Germany as well. But yeah, and those of you who haven't for some reason seen Ash yet, if you haven't, what you're doing, you can see on YouTube her handle right there, AshandtheNFL. And of course, if you are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you just heard her handle. So go give her a follow if you haven't already on all platforms necessary. But this has been our penultimate team season preview, our Packers 2024 episode. We will see you guys on next team season preview, our final team season preview, the Minnesota Vikings.